The train, when they came down, it must have just.
Yeah.
They said it was.
Probably the train, yeah, because you went, you said you went to the train, right?
The trolley used to run from New York to Wrightsville through Hell
That was
on
the one, this is the
462.
train.
You got all kinds of.
Call the Borough Council meeting back to order.
Yeah.
It passed her house and over back in.
Let the minutes show we were in executive session for personnel matters. I'm going to move on to committee reports, administration and finance.
The people come in and spend when you listen to them. Oh, okay. And you want to talk to them, you should all copy sign it, you can put million on my stuff, so. I think that's.
Okay, here's what we know about the fee schedule. Eric doesn't like zoning. You don't need to regroup that. We have a fee schedule we've been operating under that forces a little bit of a subsidy, right? Every time a permit's issued. Because it doesn't match dollar for dollar what you're being billed by your codes administration, who is basically running the codes department. So the idea was to create a new schedule that recoups some of those, eliminates some of that subsidization. I think Scott was a proponent of dollar for dollar, right?
That was the first motion that I made, that is correct.
Yeah. So Crystal's been presenting this 3 times now.
She's not doing it tonight.
She's not doing it tonight.
What was the holdup the last time, the alarm permit fees?
Oh, we have a new version here?
It's the same one, but instead of the local.
Right, so we had a $60, what stopped us in our tracks was the $60 alarm permit fee, which is still on there. But we did eliminate the sewer permit. No, it's still on there too, $25 too.
I'm so confused. There's too many versions.
Yeah, I thought we got rid of that.
We did, maybe I gave it wrong.
I remember the sewer permit last month.
Stormwater permit. Yeah, here's one from last time. Right here.
That's one. Yeah, so sewer permit's not on that. Good. And the alarm fee is $60.
To answer Rick, I believe you asked originally what the alarm permit was for. Be anybody buying a new business within the borough that would have to upgrade the building to meet current building codes would be required to install an alarm. It would not be if a residential. Alarms are not covered in that, it only covers your commercial type buildings and things. To clear that up for you. And that is in our fee schedule by ordinance, in case anybody wanted to know that.
So a store owner with the same store that wants to switch from ADT to something else, is it gonna have to pay that?
I don't believe that's, it was not clearly interpreted in the ordinance book from what I read. It's like a 1-page ordinance.
I would think you would have seen a lot more of that if that was the case, in other words,
It sounds like if it's new construction or somebody
yeah,
coming,
a
like you
brand new
said.
building or a
Or
conversion of a
somebody's
building.
coming in to take
Start a
over the old
business.
cycle works.
Right.
Something like that.
Because I'm guessing there has to be an inspection that goes with that, to make sure that the alarm functions properly, they test it, right? So there is some cost involved.
Well, until the ordinance is dissolved, we have to keep it there again. You have to have a fee attached to it.
I don't think you're gonna get away from, because the new building codes
But you're
gonna
talking-
require
you're talking
alarms,
about fire, not security.
security, everything.
You can't require people to have a security alarm in their business. Fire, yes.
I believe it's all under whatever the building codes are. I don't know what your building codes are, so I don't know.
remember, I don't think I ever saw anything in the building code
But
about
it's,
security system. Fire, yes, fire
Yes.
prevention, fire
Fire alarms.
fire alarm, that sort of thing. And those are handled differently same people don't do fire and security in most cases. So there's probably something there for the fire end of it, cause that's general good.
Yeah, especially when you have roads,
Yeah,
connect with the businesses.
yeah. But you're not gonna have a cat burglar going from building to building the same way, so.
Sure, it's not where they're fire.
So that makes sense.
Okay, so, moving on.
So you're calling for a motion to adopt?
It's 2017-4, not 2017-1, so resolution 2017-4. Whoever's gonna make a motion, please be specific as to which version we are referring to.
The most recent one. Alright, Scott's on.
What was my original one?
That was, I thought that was,
No, his original one was with the $95
yeah.
permit fee.
So we have,
That's the one.
This was
That's
the
the
one.
that's the one.
with the exemptions.
Yeah.
But see, that still had the sewer permit on it. Yeah, we need to remove the sewer permit. Either way,
From
we need
this
a
version,
motion.
the $95.
That one, yes, the one that stays in sewer permit. I know, it's motions.
Was that version 2001, 2071, was that the old?
That was like back from,
That was
it's been revised like 4 times.
that was the $95.
Minus the sewer permit.
Minus the sewer. Without the exemptions of the $0 to $2,500. So that was
Let's
No,
just
it's on
keep
that.
in mind that we did not put anything in the budget to subsidize for this year. So therefore, going with another version whereby we're subsidizing anything from $0 to $2,500, that's coming out of the borough fund.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2017-1 with original fees as previously,
Well, it has to be 2017-4.
well,
Four,
version
but
27-1.
gotcha.
keeping the sewer permit in there also?
No, with
No,
the-
Without
sewer permit.
without the sewer permit. This is what's on the table.
Okay.
Anybody wanna see this? Pass it around. Remember this one?
Do you wanna see it?
That was without the carve out for the $0 to $2,500 construction.
What's that?
But Rick wasn't here to see that, if Rick looked it over, it would be minus the sewer permit. Yeah, it doesn't have a lot.
Now,
I wanna get
Scott
off.
has 15, so that's the 95,
I did.
so I'll be reviewing it too. Scott wants the 95 minus the sewer.
That's correct.
The one that's the
Then we
motion.
decided to go 15 minus the sewer. Now we wanna go back to 95 minus the sewer. Well, that's the motion on the table.
The motion on the table is for the $95
I forgot, I don't believe so.
We're not subsidizing anything.
Same motion that was made 2 months ago.
You didn't get a second. You might be able to make though, you're.
Time allowing Rick to be there with Rick was out of
Yeah,
council at the
different
time.
makeup here.
But I don't blame you, I'm good.
Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Any questions on the motion? Alright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Drew
Aye.
passes, that's the one. Make it pretty.
Hallelujah.
Did you call?
Codification. There is there, you have the lead piece.
Yeah. Quote here. This has been many years in the coming. quote for the codification of our wonderful ordinances, to the tune of $13,879. And there are very few companies that do this anymore.
And I have other townships that do this every year, spend between $8,000 and $1,000 every year just to update everything, so as you guys have not done it for 15 years or 20 years,
20 years.
you're paying the piper now instead of having done it twice, every 2 years or every year.
And we did plan for this in the budget
Yes, we did. We have $7,500 in the budget.
for this year.
The nice thing about this is you can break it into 4 payments, that we said, Keith. So that's a huge plus. There's plenty of money in the budget this year. There's $7,500 available to start the process. Michael Peters has been in contact with me, wanting to know where we stand.
Where would you pay the balance in?
He said this is gonna take 2 years. So, yeah,
Part of it's in 2018.
so they can budget for it again next year.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
And there's an ongoing
I
maintenance.
know, I will be involved this year.
And this is put online,
Yeah.
like Columbia Borough has.
Like most municipalities.
Yeah, like most municipalities.
And that includes, I mean, there's also an annual maintenance fee as well, so it's not a once and done, it's an ongoing cost, which is still a good value.
Cost of having all these oppressive laws.
Well needed.
And I do recall that I believe the last time, you could see it was 1998, the last time it was done. And from my recollection, we did pay around $7,500 to $7,700 at that time. So 20 years later, with this price increase, it's,
Well, and as Crystal said, she talked to the guy this time around, I talked to him last year, and he gave me the state of the industry, and there's basically like 3 people in the whole world that do this, and theirs is probably the best price anyhow, so. And because they did some of our work before, so they already have some of our stuff,
That's good.
so I make a motion that we go forward with this, get this moving.
John, I have a quick question. What's the bidding limit for something?
No, wait a minute, can we get a second first?
Or go ahead, do your thing.
If we get a second, then you can ask a question.
Yeah, we need a
So give me
second
a
on the
second.
motion.
Second.
Okay, now you may ask your question.
What's the bidding limits, John, for us to bid any work out?
This is professional services.
Yeah, this falls in the
Is there
exemption.
anything, so it's an exception?
Yeah, you don't
Okay.
have to bid this out.
And again, because there are only so many companies that,
I think we have to
I
get.
think we're,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah.
No, you guys
Yeah.
are fine.
Mhm.
okay.
Well, they actually bought the company, I guess, that originally did some of the work for us, so they assumed it, and, it's a small industry.
And we're gonna do this, whatever, 4 payments? Crystal, is that your
Well,
thoughts?
it's broken down on here, and he said because it is such an extensive, amount of work, that it's gonna take about 2 years. There's a schedule in here, page 11. There's a payment schedule A. And this is without the editorial and legal analysis. And that's something totally extra that you guys, or we all could choose to do in the future, which I kind of recommend, because they will go through it line by line and make sure that we are in line with the statutes of the Commonwealth. So that's Schedule B, but yes, it will be broken down. It tells you right here the amounts that we would be asked to pay.
This is one of them things you do for free, is it, John?
No.
Just making sure.
With 20 years of uncodified ordinances is a lot of work.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
exactly.
do it for that price.
No,
Okay, so, is there any other questions?
No, how long do we have to update out-of-date ordinances, Crystal?
We-
Like our sidewalk ordinance, curb and sidewalk stuff, that's all needs to be addressed. Streets ordinance needs to be addressed, the park ordinance needs to be addressed. I wouldn't wanna codify old ordinances.
It's gonna be an ongoing thing, I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
just roll
Wanna,
along.
yeah, we need to just start working on this
Right,
things.
as you adopt new ordinances in 2017 and 18, they're gonna be in the mix of all this, you can just skid them those and they'll slide them in the process. So I think if you're gonna do that kind of work, do most of that in 17. You gotta update some of those things. And you have outdated specs in your sidewalk ordinance and those kind of things, we should work on those. This year,
It's going on far too long.
like, you have a list of ones you want to work
Well,
on.
those are the main things that we've been talking about, the streets ordinance, the sidewalk ordinance, and the park ordinance all have issues that need to be,
That's when we need to be bringing those other planning meetings.
some of those ordinances are from 1967.
And my suggestion would be that you put a list of those together and let them know right up front, they can go around them.
So there's 3 that Mike wants the general codes to know about, sidewalk, streets, and park.
Retail code, and Peter will tell you about this. Okay, so we have a motion on the table, any further questions? Alright, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Anything else for admin and finance, Eric?
I don't think so, unless you had something.
Public Works.
I do, if I may, and I sent this to Scott and Eric since they're the Public Works Committee. Street light at 3rd and Helm Street by the crosswalk, it was suggested with one of the studies that we add additional street lights. So I contacted PP&L, we're working towards getting another street light on the other side of the crosswalk that is gonna be slightly different, which will help illuminate that at nighttime. Got, what was it, an additional, what, $12 a month or something? To upgrade the wattage, which is not gonna affect the budget because we removed the street light that was across from the Dodge dealer. So our street light budget should not change. That work is expected to take place within the next 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90.
Bucher was
Yeah, Mike, can you speak to the Booker residents? You were there when we were talking about that.
Yeah, basically Mrs. Buchart believes that her neighboring property is allowing an illegal connection to sewage, or believes something that should be connected to sewage is not properly connected, therefore it's causing like a gray or brownish water into her basement. She would like for the borough to further investigate that. Where this comes into play for the borough side is now that she's identified there's an issue potentially from her neighbor's property where sewage or some type of anything besides, our ordinance states for stormwater, anything besides storm water may not enter a storm drain, okay? What happens is when this water from the neighboring property is pumped into her basement, she in return pumps it out into a storm drain. This is an illegal situation. We have to address the situation. I believe our suggestion was to work with the engineers, get some water samples, and move forward. Does that clear that up for you good enough, Crystal, or do we need to add something to that?
No, I think that clears it up.
I know we looked at this one time before and there was no water discharge. So it's gonna be a matter of what, if we can get it when there's a water discharge, grab a sample, and we can try to figure out what it is.
How often is it getting in their basement?
We're gonna have to get it, and if that's what we wanna do, if we wanna set up time to talk to Mrs. Buchart, she can randomly call us maybe. When she feels the water's coming through her foundation, we can go look at it, try and pull a sample there. I believe Mrs. Buchart would be willing to work with us, as she has in the past,
Guarantee you she would
to
be.
get this resolved.
She was here today.
So,
It's a good thing.
if you have contact number for her, maybe pass my number on, maybe Eric's. And then when we can actually go when water's coming through her wall and assess what's going on.
She claims she can tell when they're doing their laundry.
Cause the suds
She
come
can
through.
tell when they flush the toilet.
But if either of those cases produce a water, and you can grab a sample, and Brian should be able to get you a sample jar from the treatment plant, grab a sample, you can check for surfactants, and you can check for fecal coliform. And if either of those are in it, you can prove a definite link.
Okay, then we need to stay on top of this. This has been going
She
on
needs
for
to
a while.
I would
help us
use
as
gloves.
soon as she sees it, to get her out there and get a sample.
So.
Like I said, if Tammy can pass